Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to share a training game that I played on Lichess.org. So I'm trying to break 1900 USCF, hopefully as soon as possible. So I'm going to be doing a lot of these training games. I opened with the move e4, and my opponent responded with c5. So this is the Sicilian defense, and I played d4, the Morra gambit. He took, I went c3, he took, and I played knight takes c3. And so white, at the cost of a pawn, has lead in development. He played knight c6, I went knight f3, d6, and this is a normal move, although he thought a while here. I guess not as long as I thought, because it says 14 minutes and 44 seconds. Bishop c4 is normal, and now knight f6. Now, I call knight f6 a risky move because a lot of times, whoops, and the engine's on. A lot of times in the Smith-Morra, we want to play an early e5, and if black commits their knight to f6 early, e5 can come sometimes with huge threats. So when he played this move, it turns out that I should play e5 right here. Now, I've played early e5s before, and my coach, National Master Michael Jolson, told me that when I played e5 that it was desperate. He said, "Isn't that desperate?" And I think what he means by that is, you play e5 when you're sure it's like a really good move. And here, I'm not sure that it is. So actually I didn't play this in the game. But what's interesting is that it's objectively probably the best move. The engine thinks so, but it's not a winning move. So like, okay, if they take the knight, or if they take with the knight, this is going to lose because of knight takes, pawn takes, check, and after the king takes, we win the queen. So it's a nice little trap. Another reason that I wanted to play e5. But the problem is pawn takes. And after pawn takes, the best we really have is to trade queens. And let's see. Yeah, I thought they should take with a king here to maintain defense of the pawn. But I guess here, white still has a pretty nice edge after knight g5. So we're converging on the f7 pawn, and I think white has play here and a small edge. So I'd be even knowing that e5 is objectively correct going into this ending though, I still am not sure if I want to play it. I think I kind of like my move better, which is castles. So after castles, we're kind of leaving black in a position where objectively they're better, but they have to find the right moves. They have to be very careful. So I think I might, for now, still play castles. Okay, so my opponent played a6, makes sense. They probably want to go queen c7 but stop knight b5. I went queen e2, and I wasn't sure what the best move is here. Computer's giving queen c2 because queen e2 rook d1 is the normal plan. Well, I don't want to be lazy, but I didn't see anything better. So queen e2. Yeah, and he played this unusual move, bishop g4. Now, this move is approved by the computer, surprisingly. Usually this move is bad because of threats on f7 and takes and check and win the bishop. But as you can see, this knight, because it was committed early, is defending this threat. So I don't think I can do much about this. And the computer's giving h3, which you don't want to play h3 in a Morra gambit. At least not until they play e5. Then I would. So I went rook. Oh yeah, I played here. I thought I went rook d1. The reason I did this first is because I thought rook d1, maybe they could take. And after here, the knight comes in and it's forking my bishop and my queen. I guess I could go queen e2 here and be fine, but I don't know. Somehow I wasn't excited by this. It feels like I'm getting pushed around and pieces are being traded. In hindsight, though, now that I look at this with pieces actually there, I can see that black has like 0 development. So computer says queen b3 and we're still +1. So we're attacking this pawn immediately. Huh. Okay, that's something I didn't know. So had I seen all of that, which I did not, I don't think I would have played the move that I played, which was bishop to b3. This is a normal Morra move though, so I felt like probably this would be required at some point anyway. It kind of discourages b5. Could argue I want them to play b5, so okay. And now the computer says black's better, -1 better, which we gave up a pawn, so basically I have no compensation at this point. He played e6, I went rook d1, and queen c7. Okay. So I'm bishop f4 here, so pinning the pawn, but the real reason I played this is I want to play rook ac1 and put my rook opposite the queen. Bishop e7 was played, rook ac1. And now if black can castle here, I think black's doing just fine. And black did castle. So I think black's doing just fine. Yeah, I was wondering if the computer would show some sort of win here, but no. Now, typically there's 2 moves you want to play in the Morra middle game, at least in my experience. Knight d5 or e5. Now, knight d5 always looks crazy, but it's usually like it's a move that even though it looks crazy, if you don't find it, you're worse. So you have to take knight d5 very seriously. And the other one is e5, and I wasn't thrilled about either move here. I thought either move, and I thought the position was equal, which turns out to be true. And I actually chose the wrong one out of these 2 moves. So if you want to pause your video and figure out which one is correct and which one is losing, go ahead and do so now. Okay, so in the move, I played e5. This is incorrect. There's insufficient defense to push this pawn to e5. Black can simply remove the defender, and if we try to take with our g-pawn, it's still not good enough. It's still removed the defender, and they can simply take. What's worse is that we're not going to have any knight d5 stuff because we have to move our bishop first, and that's a critical tempo, and black is way better here. Up another pawn and has play. So e5 was actually a big mistake, and the other move is knight d5. So I was skeptical of this as well. I saw it would only be equal, which is true, but the other move doesn't work. So here he should take the knight, and we should take back. So here's sort of the point. The knight is pinned and attacked. So pretty much black should play like this. Just take this. We'll take with a bishop. And even though they have this weak pawn, it's an extra pawn. And even though they're not as developed as white, white's rooks are in the center and black's are not, black is certainly coordinated here enough. So this position is equal, and maybe white will win this pawn. I don't know. Probably. Okay. But in the game, e5 was played. So if I was playing a computer, I'd be lost. But let's see what happened. He took the pawn. I think that's fine, but probably taking first makes a lot of sense. So I played, well, actually, I think I played a crazy move. Okay, no, that's correct. Knight takes, and then I went knight d5. Maximum confusion. And the nice thing about moves that are confusing is that opponents get scared and confused, and then they blunder. And here, that's what my opponent did. So I think my opponent should stay calm here. I was thinking, yeah, the computer's playing the move I didn't expect. I was thinking they should take here. And after queen takes, they could take this first. Oh, maybe they shouldn't. Check here and here. Followed by this. And I thought black was fine here, and turns out that is true. I have this fork, but black has time. I'm not even sure it's a real fork, because there is this. But then there's this. But then there's this. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, but yeah, it turns out that's better than what happened in the game. The computer gives... Okay, knight d5. The computer gives bishop takes knight. But, I was planning g takes. Although this isn't the most pleasant pawn structure I've ever had. But I've had it a lot, so I'm not that scared of it. Yeah, and then queen b8, the computer says, which I was looking at this during the game. Just maintains defense here. But now I am going to win the bishop. The queen's no longer defending it. But I cannot take here. So am I down material here? Black has 2 minor pieces. I have 2 minor pieces. But black has an extra pawn. And I think the computer likes black because my pawns are terrible and I have 1 less. So it's giving black -2 here. So that's how they should have played it. Now let's see what actually happened. After knight d5, my opponent played queen a5. I don't know why they played this move. I think after knight d5, like, you might freak out and say, oh no, like, I have to defend my knight and my bishop. And this is the only square that does that. Whoops, but I can't stay there. So, maybe you figure it, you have to move your queen, and I don't know. Queen a5 I can't really explain. So I took the bishop, of course. This comes with check, so that's kind of a free move. King h8. And maybe we're going to see their idea. So, yeah, and I took this knight pretty quickly too because black has to take back now. There's no time to mess up my pawns because if bishop takes, I take the queen. So they have to pretty much take here. And I took. And they do get my rook. And now I think I have to play bishop takes bishop. Let's see if that's true. If I go rook takes bishop, I thought this wins my knight. Oh, you know what though? It doesn't because of this. That's checkmate. But furthermore, what about this move? Computer says no, don't worry about it because of knight f5. Okay, I did not see this. Knight f5. Oh, saying that you can take my knight because I'm going to go check. And you have to take the knight with your rook. So I'm going to win material back. Wow, and if here... Now we have discoveries. Knight d6 check should do the job. Wow, very interesting. I did not see knight f5. I thought I had to take with the bishop. So yeah, that's kind of hard to see. So you'd have to see this, this, and this, and this, and then see... What was the move? I still can't see it. Oh, this move, because this pawn's gone. Wow. Okay. I have a lot to learn about chess. Alright, but after here, I played the safer move, which is just take with a bishop. Kind of loses a tempo. I'd rather my bishop be on b3, but at least now I have this resource. This will defend the knight. Notice the knight doesn't have any squares. I have no retreat squares at all. So that's why I was worried about like this kind of thing. Which he played. So I played my idea. Rook c7. And okay. What should black do? He played here. Computer gives g5, which looks desperate. So I guess creating a square for the king. He played here, a little more sensible. He's threatening checkmate, but maybe it's not sensible because it's easy to defend. I move my bishop and it defends mate. Although computer says bishop f3 is better, just to stop any knight e4 ideas. Because I think counterplay for black might be knight e4 followed by a visitor on the second rank targeting my f2 pawn. Okay, but I went bishop e3, which is fine. Yeah, and this is a huge mistake. Okay. So here he needs to play knight e4, but because he went knight d5, well, I was happy to see this instantly. It's funny how, like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this in chess, but a lot of times when the computer says a move is a huge blunder, I'll think back to the game and I won't necessarily know that it's a huge blunder, but I'll feel like an instant sense of relief or something. And I remember feeling that when he played knight d5. I was just like, oh yes, I can trade off my knight that was going to get trapped, you know? So I took this. It's the most natural move in the world. Okay, and he takes with a pawn. And I suppose this is the real reason it's a blunder, though. So it's white's turn, and white has a winning move. Now, you're not going to believe this, but I actually played the wrong move. I think it's pretty clear that f7's under attack in a big way, but you can take with a knight or a rook. I took with a rook, which, why? This wins on the spot. It's a fork, and he would have to take, and so I'm going to win more material. So that's clearly the way I should have played. This is not a threat. The bishop's guarding, and the king's ready to run over if needed. Okay. So I took with the rook, but this is still, I mean, this is still also good. And he went here. f4, I like f4. So I'm not going to move my knight. I'm going to leave him in the center. And now black is going to try and queen a pawn. I was definitely nervous here, but I calculated this out. I can take this pawn, because now I'm threatening a fork. So he sacked the exchange, which I did calculate, and I can take it. And he pushes, and guess what? My king comes to the rescue. So here, my opponent resigned. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this game, and I'll see you next time.